August 27th, 2022. Well, I want to get into this video, I guess, the basic subject of DOJ, FBI misbehavior, or whatever we're going to call it. And we've got a lot of things happening. Of course, the release of the Mar-a-Lago raid affidavit today is one of the topics I want to get into. And there's a couple of others that are kind of related. I guess, first of all, to mention that I guess the other day, 2 more people were convicted in the FBI entrapment scam in Michigan about the fake attempt to kidnap Governor Whitmer and put her on trial, which was all orchestrated by the FBI as an entrapment scheme, and yet the juries have fallen for the prosecution's authenticity and have convicted 4 people now, and 2 have been acquitted. So it goes to show that the gullible public put on a jury will do the bidding, I guess. The other thing I want to get into is this another little conviction that occurred. And this is a lady named Aimee Harris. It's associated with the Biden daughter diary issue. And in fact, she and her accomplice have also just pled guilty. By the way, if you like these videos, please subscribe. Give me a like if you're a subscriber, and comments are appreciated. And of course, you can share them with anybody that's interested. Yeah, and this is an interesting case because if we recall, that involves the raid on Project Veritas and so forth. And this could expand into media suppression of conservative or unpreferred media outlets. It hasn't happened yet, but we don't know where it might go. But for the moment, what has happened is that this Aimee Harris has pled guilty to basically a conspiracy to have interstate trafficking and stolen property. Now, let's kind of look at this and see if this is really correct. First of all, we have to consider real quickly that what happened was this lady moved into a house that previously was occupied by Biden's daughter, who apparently left some things in the house, apparently, including this diary and some other items, including some photos and some other information, I guess. Some had to do with tax records, allegedly. It does seem like these Bidens are very clumsy about leaving sensitive material around for other people to get a hold of, such as the laptop. But anyhow, so I guess they, seeing the potential value in it, were looking to sell it to some news outlet, and ended up selling it to Project Veritas for $40,000. And apparently Project Veritas wanted to bring some other items, I guess these photos and so forth, to confirm it really was her diary, because they were unsure. They want to go public and then be found to be an error. And so essentially, this is the basis of the thing, but I would argue it's pretty, since the material was abandoned, to say it was stolen, I think is dubious at best. I mean, and also the idea of having information that's of newsworthy interest being provided to a news outlet is something a little bit different. I suppose where they do get into potential trouble here was the idea that they wanted to be paid for it. And of course, rather than doing it as a public service, that could be a factor. But I don't see that it was stolen. I mean, it was left behind. I guess, again, it's unclear to me if they knew how to contact the person in question. I don't know if they did or not. But to me, it seems to me like what we're really dealing with is a case where people that really didn't have much in the way of the ability to, defend themselves in court with a good attorney, pled guilty to avoid the risk of getting a really tough sentence, opposed to probably a light sentence in order to be a witness for the prosecution. And that's why I think Project Veritas better have some good lawyers ready, because they could be coming after them. Now, that's just based on my own guess, but I mean, the fact this looks to be perhaps that. I mean, I really think they probably wouldn't have been convicted if, for instance, this had been a Republican politician's daughter whose diary fell into the hands of a Democrat or something, right? So at any rate, that's kind of the way that ended up, and we'll have to see what happens next on that. The next thing I want to get into is to get into the whole affidavit, which is kind of a topical thing. I've read through it carefully twice, a little bit more carefully the second time. And basically, we're still kind of in a nebulous area here. Basically, Trump apparently has claimed, as I understand it, that he actually had declassified the documents that have been seized at Mar-a-Lago. And so all the national security crimes may be hypothetically quite defendable and moot, actually. Although we don't know what the courts will ultimately rule about the subject, obviously. But the one thing that favors Trump, I think, in this pretty clearly is one is the authority of the president to declassify things, being the ultimate classification authority, and two, the fact that all the items apparently were moved and sent to Mar-a-Lago while he was president. So in that case, the issue is if he claims they're unclassified, he has the ability to do it. I guess it comes down to the question, what does the president have to do to sustain that declaration? But looking at, I think that's the one thing I got out of it. A lot of what happened, other than that, the story is pretty much like we've already been told and heard over and over again. That there was an ongoing dispute over various documents and records with the National Archives. That the FBI was allowed to search through documents, and they brought 15 boxes out of material, which was a mixture of documents that were marked classified, but not necessarily were still classified, and other documents, newspaper articles, and the like. Also, there were notes that were on it by apparently that they're presumed to be from Trump. So these were probably made while he was still president in office, probably just notes he took during briefings and stuff, or whatever. So that apparently is, what we have here, and I think we'll have to see how this plays out, of course, again. But the fact that he's declared a lot of things declassified and even put out memos that count. The other thing that the document does contain is a nice little introduction to security classifications that are relevant to the discussion of what they mean. If any of you have seen these kind of documents that have been released by the government after a declassification process, and you'll see some of the markings on it. At any rate, the document does explain what those things mean, so that could be of interest to somebody. And so that basically is the situation. On that, I guess we could wonder where we go from here. They apparently found additional materials on this search, and there is a notation in there that Kash Patel, one of the Trump supporters and was a former, I think, chief of staff for the Secretary of Defense, I think. At any rate, he had declared that all the documents in the original 15 boxes were declassified. So what we may still be dealing with is a clerical issue or an administrative issue rather than an actual issue of actual classified documents. And that'll probably be something that'll have to be determined later, perhaps in court issues. So that's kind of where we are for now. And I guess people have generally been looking a lot at the blackout marks and stuff like that. But essentially, that's what they do in these redactions. A lot of the stuff when it really gets interesting into what led to them actually going to the search, as opposed to accepting where they'd been back in June, that's what's primarily blacked out. So we really don't have much additional insight into what happened in the interim. Were there ongoing communications? Was there a informant inside of Mar-a-Lago? Was there eavesdropping or by bugging type techniques? This we don't know what led to it, but or is it just some kind of analysis of the situation that's being blacked out? So anyway, that's about all we have on that now, but I thought I'd kind of go through it. But I think in summary of all this, it looks to me like we have a very aggressive uh, uh, pro-Biden DOJ FBI that's doing their best to protect Biden's interests where they can and go after his opponents where they can. By the way, I'll also mention, I sometimes forget to mention this here, I do also post these on these videos on Rumble as a kind of a backup channel, and I haven't gained much following there, but hopefully we'll be gaining more there over time. And the links to my, or not links, I always say that, the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. And I also will put a link to an article about the Aimee Harris case and Veritas below as well. And until next time.